From Chris 6 News, this is your Tropical Update, brought to you by the law offices of Herman & Herman.
Hey, good morning, folks. Meteorologist Bill Alexander. Let's take a look at what's going on out in the Gulf of Mexico. Obviously, Tropical Storm Beta. As a result of that, we got some watches and warnings. First off, a tropical storm watch over all of the area in B County, San Patricio, that coral color down south, and in the magenta color up to the north and northeast, Refugio and Aransas counties extending northward into Goliad, Victoria, and Calhoun counties all the way on up the coast. Now we've also got a storm surge warning. That storm surge warning covers all of the inland bays, waterways, and the coastline all the way from southeast Texas down into deep south Texas, all that area for 1 to 3 foot of inundation. And so all those areas that are very low in elevation need to be mindful for the rising water. Okay, now here is the latest on Beta. The satellite radar loop just during the last 3 hours has shown a huge increase in shower and thunderstorm activity near the core of the storm. And that's indicative of some intensification, also indicative of a little bit of lessening of that wind shear. Maybe a little premature. This looks like an intensifying storm, and it hasn't shown up yet on the data. But as of right now, the 4 a.m. advisory still has it at 60 miles per hour, but it's also begun that westerly track that we've been anticipating, and it's a slow one right now, west-northwest at about 3 miles an hour. But that's a change, and you can see that motion beginning to take place. Now, that's something that we've been watching for overnight, and that motion is expected to continue for the next 36 to 48 hours. In fact, we'll be watching that storm make that motion and ultimately a landfall around the north end of Matagorda Bay, say around Palacios, and then turning to the north and northeast away from the coastal bend, by the way. And that will keep us out of the extreme winds and extreme rains. Here's a look here, the wind radii, and this is what the low end of the tropical storm force winds, that's the edge of that, and you can see it approaching the coastline. Note the time, Monday morning, just reaching the upper Texas coast. But guess what happens? As the storm makes landfall, it's going to start weakening, and so you start to lose the core of the stronger winds. Now you do get some tropical storm force winds down just touching Matagorda Bay down to Lavaca Bay, San Antonio Bay, that area, and then it wraps around the system and moves to the northeast. So we don't get that really strong tropical force storm force winds here in the coastal bend. You do get a strong northerly wind, and that will continue Sunday, Monday, and on into Tuesday. But the biggest wind opportunities will be Monday afternoon as that storm makes landfall to the north and east of us. You get that strong north-northwesterly flow. So, bring your plants inside, and anything that's loose out there, it's going to be gusty and pretty showery at the time. So we're going to be looking at some fairly strong winds, but no sustained tropical storm force winds here. Not unless the path changes, and that can happen. Now, here is the dynamics of the storm's environment. You've got very dry air wrapping into the system. That's been impeding the development of the storm quite a bit. And you can see that indicated here across the continent, and it's pulling that dry air in, wrapping it into the circulation, and that impedes the development of the storm. But in the last couple of frames there, you've seen that convection in the core of the storm begin to blossom, and so this wind shear that's been blowing the material from southwest to northeast may be letting up just a little bit and allowing that intensification, at least to a degree. As far as the motion of the storm, that's being driven by an upper level high across the southern plains. That high was in the southwestern U.S., shifting across the southern plains. It'll shift down into the deep south, which will allow the storm to move northward on into the mid-Mississippi Valley ultimately as an upper level disturbance moves across and picks it up, and that'll be the second half of the week. So what are we looking at as far as rainfall as a result of that? We're going to miss out on a lot of that rain. We are going to have some, but the heavy rain is going to be confined to the upper Texas coast, basically east of the center line of that storm's landfall and trajectory, and there you'll be looking for 10 to 15 inches of rain, basically from Bay City northeastward into the Houston area and across to around Lake Charles. We around here will get a whole lot less rain, and I'll show you the exact amount that we anticipate in just a second. The local impacts, though, what to expect? Well, the storm is heading into the middle Texas coast. Now, what that means is north and east of the coastal bend, and that includes the crossroads and southeast Texas and those areas there. But there's still some uncertainty as to where that path is going. It's zeroing in on that area. It's been pretty consistent, so the changes are getting smaller and smaller. But keep advised, because that could change as well. The coastal flood watch and the warning, the storm surge warning is already in place. The beaches are closed. Don't even think of going out there, because they're barricaded for 1 to 3 foot of storm rise inundation. But the winds will increase, not quite to tropical storm force. It will be gusting to tropical storm force in our northeastern areas. And the rain, well, 0 to 2 inches, not a lot. Here's your current Doppler radar, and you can see the rain well offshore. And actually, what you're now seeing is the big increase in the thunderstorm activity in the core of the storm here. And you can actually start to see that on radar. It's looking a little bit better organized. But as far as the amount of activity we're going to see here this afternoon, this evening, a few little stray showers coming across. But we're going to miss out on most of that range from this storm. The production is going to be well to the north and east. We're going to be relegated to basically less than ½ an inch in most locations. Now, if you want to get the latest activity or away from the TV, download the Storm Shield Severe Weather Alert app. You can get it at your Google Play or your App Store, and it'll give you the latest streaming video, live coverage, school closures, weather alerts, and a radar map. All this information in your pocket, or just carry it with you. I'm meteorologist Bill Alexander.